those of radio station KICK, Vision Communications Incorporated, management or advertisers. Vision Communications Incorporated is not responsible for the validity or accuracy of information presented on this program. Wellness Wednesday with Dr. Norm Shealy and Dr. Sergey Sorin. Get the health answers you need from the creator of holistic medicine and the 2020 Holistic Doctor of the Year. To be a part of the show, call 417-447-1777. Wellness Wednesday. Now, here are your hosts, Dr. Norm Shealy and Dr. Sergey Sorin.
And good afternoon. You are with us today for one of the most important discoveries in the history of medicine.
Indeed.
There are 37,000 scientific references published on the use or on the study of anandamide, which means bliss. It is a natural endocannabinoid that we produce in our brain and actually throughout the body. And the medical profession has ignored it. They've done, in fact, actually about 75 or 80% of all the research has been published on animals, not even on people. But even 20% would be 7,000. Oh, well. At any rate, we have discovered that you can optimize your anandamide by using this wonderful device, which we occasionally talked about on the start. We took 12 people, all of whom were normal, with a range of how healthy they were, but they were all healthy with no known diseases. And they volunteered, and we drew blood, and they sat for 2 hours with this turned on their head, and then we drew blood again. And we had it measured at Missouri State University because it's a research project, but fortunately, one of the research labs there did it for us. And it raised their anandamide about 9%. Now, you don't want to raise it too much. I mean, for instance, the optimal person started with a little over 4. Mine was 3.86, I think. So you don't want to get it too much above 5. But even the person who started down with like 1.5 increased at least 9 or 10%. And that's what's important. This tells you how healthy your brain is. If anandamide is too high, either you are schizophrenic or you have a serious inflammatory illness. It goes up to try and bring it back down. If it's too low, well, you are really sick.
And you're missing bliss. And anandamide is a bliss hormone.
And this is optimal bliss, or optimize your bliss with the gamma pip device.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we're talking about because, until this point in time, physicians, psychologists, and psychiatrists use only psychometric tests. Who fills out the psychometric test? You do. The patient does. They have no real validity because you can make up anything you want.
Yes, subjective as opposed to objective.
They are subjective and totally non-objective. Even an EEG is not as good in telling you whether your brain is normal because it's all over the place and can still be normal. It ranges significantly as well, but your anandamide is only 1 to 5 nanograms per milliliter, and that's where you want to be. And so if you are already optimally healthy, you may not be interested, but if you have any problem with your brain, you may want to consider getting yourself a Shealy-Sorin gamma PEMF. My favorite case in the last 4 years was a 60-year-old man. He still is, but at the time he was not. He came in a wheelchair. He couldn't talk. I couldn't ask him a question. I had to get it from his family. 2 people held him by the arm to lift him onto the table. He could put his feet on the ground or on the floor, even with 2 people holding him. So he was diagnosed by someone else as advanced Parkinsonism. All I knew, he had advanced no brain function and almost no brain, no usable brain function. 1 month later, he walked 50 feet from the parking lot into the clinic and could talk with me. Not long after him, I had a woman with early Alzheimer's. She couldn't tell you the time of day. Within a month, she was perfectly normal. So anything that's damaging your brain, by restoring the gamma frequency of the brain and the anandamide, you are likely to function at a much healthier and more effective way.
Let's connect the dots here, because we just introduced several concepts. We introduced PEMF, we introduced gamma frequency for the brain, which is the optimal brain function in the zone, and we introduced anandamide. Shall we go into a little bit more detail about how they all play together?
Yes. You know, the brain has more functions than anything else in the body. It controls everything in the body. And if you are born healthy and lead a healthy lifestyle, the chances are you will grow up healthy. However, 97.5% of Americans do not lead a healthy lifestyle. 97.5% are missing 1 to 5 of the essential health habits. That means only 2.5% of people even have a chance of having optimal everything, health-wise. Now, if it's been damaged modestly or moderately, you can restore it if you restore your habits, health habits. Now, you've got to have certain vitamins like vitamin D3, B complex, astaxanthin, and vitamin C. Those are essentials. And you've got to do a certain amount of exercise, etc. And you've got to, sleep and do all the normal things that make you healthy.
Well, the foundations, the lifestyle.
The foundation for life itself.
Yeah.
So if you are off, and of course, we only see people who come in because of problems. Occasionally, somebody comes in because they don't have any yet, but they want to stay that way. But mostly, they have some kind of problem. And it can range from pain to cancer and everything you'd imagine in between.
And every disease state is missing the gamma, and it's missing proper levels of proper brain chemicals, including anandamide.
Yes, and all kinds of others, including serotonin and dopamine and norepinephrine. But the important thing is you can restore it even in those most advanced cases. I mean, just yesterday, I was working with someone who's on 3 antihypertensive drugs, 3. He still got hypertension. And of course, he has chronic fatigue and the usual male problem with chronic fatigue, erectile dysfunction. And it will take us up to 3 months to wean him off that crap. But we have a 99.9% chance of getting his blood pressure normal, off all the drugs, his ED gone, and his energy restored. And part of that will include this. Interestingly, this gadget not only normalizes your brain, but for the heart, I have taken it with people with a blood pressure of 200 over 110 and brought it down to normal within 30 minutes.
Wonderful.
One woman with very serious chronic lung disease, 75% oxygenation. Within 30 minutes, 96% oxygenation.
Well, it works on a cellular level, mitochondria, and just the trillions of cells of the body, literally.
But that's what pulsed electromagnetic frequency does.
Yeah.
Now, there are lots of pulsed electromagnetic frequency devices, but, folks, there's one and only one that puts the brain into gamma, in the zone. In the zone, gamma was originally discovered in Buddhist monks who meditate 8 hours a day. You don't have to meditate 8 hours a day. You can do it with this and keep on doing everything else you want to do. But the most important thing is anxiety. In my opinion, the undeniable cause of almost all illness is anxiety. And even the most anxious of people we have found in our practice can help themselves with using the gamma pen.
Back to the research with addiction, which is actually, now that's very interesting, because We talked about gamma before about that, but we haven't connected yet fully about the anandamide. But that's probably the missing link here, isn't it?
That's why we did the study.
That's why we did the study.
Because several years ago, we actually proved that this device will cure opioid or narcotic addiction.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the only cure we know that is safe and simple and effective. The average opioid center charges people thousands of dollars. They keep them a minimum of a month to 3 months, and the success rate is a whopping 17%.
Mm-hmm.
Our patients, 10 patients, long-standing opioid addicts, are now 3 years and 3.5 months free of craving. So it not only worked initially, but it continues to keep them from getting into trouble. In fact, one of the women actually had a healthy baby last year.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
Which would not have been possible when she was a drug addict.
Mm-hmm.
The important thing is when the body is out of whack, which means out of electrical balance, it starts most of the time in the brain, but it can start with an accident, or it can start with, unhealthy parents, if you will. If you were born healthy and have healthy, happy parents who nurse you, you've got a good chance of growing up healthy. If you had abusive parents or neglectful parents, and by the way, 40% of Americans are born out of wedlock, and they have a high death rate before they get here, miscarriages. And what they're here, they're destined for lifelong problems.
Unless there's intervention of some sort.
And we have intervened. I mean, I've worked with many such patients who tell me they've been abused all their life. The problem is you don't have to stay with it. You can clear that with a holistic approach. Mm-hmm. And it includes things like this and, of course, autogenetic training. But the important thing is you're going to have to insist your physician measure your anandamide.
It's interesting. I asked several of my colleagues about anandamide since we did the study.
Yeah.
No idea.
Only on PubMed, there's over 3,700 scientific articles.
Right.
On Google Scholar, there are over 20,000.
Anandamide is actually known within the cannabinoid science.
But interestingly, the research, again, at least 75 or 80% of the research is all done in animals.
Mm-hmm.
But even if you take only the human research, there are a few thousand. And yet, there's no chemical lab or commercial lab that measures. I've tried for the last years. Now, we actually took up this process, and we're fortunate enough to have a consultant at the university who did the research for us. But the reason it's important is this could tell you where you need to go. If you've got a very low anandamide, you need to bring it up to normal. If you've got a very high anandamide, we need to bring it down to normal. And we can do that as well, and this would help. It will, to my knowledge, will never raise it excessively.
And I think I'd like to come back to this concept of normalization, not raising, not elevating, because in medicine, in science, there's drugs that are focused on raising things, there are drugs that are focused on decreasing things, but
all of them carry complications called side effects.
Which is complications, basically. Nothing more, nothing less.
Up to death.
Yeah.
In fact, in July of 2000, the JAMA major article was the number 3 cause of death in this country is medicine.
But in reality, probably number 1.
Okay, because lots of patients signed out of dying of their illness when they actually died as complications of the treatment.
Mm-hmm.
24% of all people who go in the hospital have a complication of some kind. That's reported as well.
And by the way, it's interesting how people kind of blow off or disregard these complications as it's okay, it's expected. Whereas if you get into a car accident, that's an interesting situation. It's considered to be an accident or an abnormal situation. But if a drug harms you, it's okay.
Right.
Well, it's not okay.
Well, my favorite statement for as many years as I can remember now is I know no chronic disease which I would allow conventional medicine.
Mm-hmm.
I like my normal anandamide. I like enhancing it with this. And by the way, last July, when I thought I was going to die from shingles that covered my body from my knees to my shoulders.
That was terrible. Yeah.
I mean, I felt 95% dead. I put this on for 8 hours, and by the end of the day, I was 95% back to normal.
Now, it's interesting. I've used this device. I'm about 3 weeks post-operative from the lumbar fusion. Most of the time I use it. It's 24/7, literally, but well, other than when I'm driving, of course. But and I am driving, which is interesting. I use it mostly on the area of the lumbar spine where I have the fusion, but it's interesting. I noticed that, and that takes away the pain and discomfort. Not that I pay much attention to it. I dissociate, but when I put the PMF on the head, it literally just makes the processing of the pain a completely different experience. I can feel. It's almost like you can feel the warm, the cold, metal, wood, but it doesn't bother you.
That's right. And that means it doesn't cause agitation or anxiety.
Yes.
Because that's its number one benefit. But it can help depression almost as well as anxiety. And the important thing is, if you have a healthy body at rest when nothing is happening, your cells are at minus 70 millivolt charge. If they get down to minus 60 or minus 50, they're If they get down to minus 50, they're
And minus 30 is cancer and things of that nature.
Right, of course.
So, terrible.
But this restores that normal minus 70 millivolt charge. And the only contraindication is a pacemaker or pregnancy.
Well, pregnancy because
you don't want to. I wouldn't even go near the research in pregnancy. But in a pacemaker, it won't hurt you. It might turn off the pacemaker. But I have 2 patients who actually have one of my original inventions, spinal cord stimulators, inserted into their body, which weren't working adequately. But they're now controlling their pain with a PIMS device, both of them.
Wonderful.
I have a man in California who's got ALS who is slowly recovering.
Now, that usually doesn't happen.
It doesn't happen. And it may take many months yet, but he's already walking better.
Oh, my God. That's great.
I had a letter, an email from his wife this week. So the important thing is we're bringing you this one of the most important discoveries in the history of medicine, the use of the Shealy-Sorin gamma PIMP for restoring optimal Bliss anandamide.
And I'd like to bring up a concept. This is where holistic medicine comes in. That's the entire concept of holism. It's not raising or decreasing. It's not messing around with physiology. It's normalizing.
Normalizing, optimizing.
Optimizing. That's what it's about.
But normal is optimal.
Yes. And by the way, speaking of things and inventions and all sorts of, and I'll say the V word, the concept of, I'm gonna go out on a limb here at the risk of certain things, and I'll just stop right there, but I'll make a statement. When people look for external solutions like vaccines or things of that nature to help them deal with the world, that's not the concept. The concept is, where's your immune system? Because if your immune system, again, normalizing the immune system, you don't need anything else, including experimental agents.
I absolutely agree.
Yeah, that's that.
And again, we never do research unless we've already demonstrated its safety.
Number 1, safety. Number 2, efficacy.
Exactly.
Unlike most of the stuff in the world today, but that's okay. Yeah, well, it's not okay, but it is what it is.
Well, halitosis is better than no breath at all. However, I prefer healthy breath. Now, if you are interested and you want to get more, or you want to have a consult with us, of course, you could call the clinic, 417-351-5221. Or you can email me, Norm, at normshealy.com. And I'll be happy to answer your question. But if you want specific medical advice, I need to see you as a consultant. Now, meanwhile, if you really want to know the foundation for starting, even before you get into this, go to our website, realholisticdoc.com, realholisticdoc.com. And you can sign up for free and get 90 days of self-health, which gives you the foundation of biogenics autogenic training.
Now, by the way, just wanted to mention this out loud there. This research project is hopefully going to be published.
Yes.
At some point in the near future.
Yes, I've finished the article. I'm waiting for the bibliography to be typed up for me because I'm not the best typist in the world. But hopefully by next Monday, I will be submitting it to a major medical journal.
And I wonder how the medical community is going to embrace that.
Well, we'll find out if they accept the publication first.
I'd like to come back to the concept. When you originally presented the concept of a dorsal cord stimulator and TENS,
Yes.
I mean, that now it's all over the world, but initially,
the neurosurgeon jumped up on the stage and grabbed the microphone out of my hand and said, "You're an idiot. You don't know what you're talking about. All your resources in animals." Well, 3 years later, when I went back to talk with him about my first 6 patients, every neurosurgeon in the room wanted to do the procedure. And it's still used all over the world. And it's a good procedure. But I always would start with this and TENS before I would even consider that.
yes.
Now, I wouldn't start with this until the last 5 years. But the interesting thing is, today is the day for announcing this important discovery, and we want everybody to know about it. So spread the word. Anxiety, depression, pain.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to control that safely without drugs, this is one way of doing it. I know no anxiety drug and no antidepressive drug which I would go even recommend or prescribe, let alone take.
And I think I'm going to go beyond the disease states. Dis-ease, lack of ease, which is holistic approach to medicine, is, let's say a person wants to focus on optimizing gamma frequency for the brain and anandamide.
Because that's where you go when you are an adept, if you will, or a super superb meditator. But you don't even have to think about this to put yourself there. It puts you there in that stage of everything is great. Woohoo!
Oh, yeah.
Now, I actually don't need the device now, except what I had at Shealy's, but I use it. I just have it behind my back while I'm sitting at my desk. Because even sitting on it, it puts your brain into gamma. We've done that study already.
Mm-hmm.
And it puts you slightly strong in gamma if you got it in your head, but it keeps you focused and detached from stress. And that's what life is all about, detaching from things you cannot change.
Now, shall we talk about some other relevant things?
Like?
Well, I do want to mention, I did drop by. I don't move around very, very fast, but I did drop by one of my favorite stores recently. Do you happen to know what that is? Spring Valley.
Natural foods. Yes, and that's where you get all the supplements that we recommend. And of course, I go there almost every week to help restock them. But the nice thing is they give you service. Spring Valley Natural Foods, right there on Glenstone, just above Sunshine. It is my favorite, and it's the place where I shop. And of course, they carry all of our goodies, the Shealy-Sorin multivitamin called Essentials, the Youth Formula, all the Bliss oils, the magnesium lotion. But more importantly, they give you service and find for you what you want. And of course, don't forget at your real grocery stores where you get Nature Bliss tart cherry juice concentrate, my favorite food additive, 3.75 ORAC units for every 2 tablespoons of Nature Bliss tart cherry juice concentrate.
And delicious. Tastes great and good for you.
Yes.
Mm.
Blessings to all.
So after this break, we're going to take some questions. Look forward to it.
55.
So while we're
On a break.
Yeah.
Glad you brought that up. I thought about that too. I was going to remind you of the break.
Oh, yeah. Well,
I thought about it just before you did it. I figured, well, I'll do it first thing after the break.
Now, Dr. Shealy, since we're still on our live, is there any questions or any comments?
We did have the first thing is a comment from Helene. She says she likes your hats.
Yes.
Helene from Reno, Nevada.
Helene, hello. Yeah, wonderful.
We have a question from Rod Miller. He was asking, are there any physical ailments beyond anxiety which gamma PEMF could ameliorate?
Let's finish that one on air. We're asking. We're on air.
Well, we are on air.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
Again, an irregular heartbeat, it can help, although you need magnesium lotion as well. But if your blood pressure is high, this can certainly help immensely. And of course, pain anywhere locally. In fact, our original research was on diabetic neuropathy, painful numb feet, and it can restore natural feeling back into the body. It can help fractures heal faster. You had that happen to you.
Now, this is my second fracture now.
Yes.
And I got to stop with the fractures now. I think I'm learning my lesson a little too much here. But the first one was a foot and ankle. The second now is the spine, but it's wonderful.
And of course, as I mentioned earlier, Parkinsonism, Alzheimer's, and people with lung disease, chronic lung disease, 75% oxidation is pretty bad, but it came back up to 100% or 90% very quickly. So the important thing is it restores normal function.
On the cellular level.
Yes.
That's the key. And cells are everywhere.
Almost any organ in the body.
Yes.
Thank you for that question.
We also have somebody asking about what you would do for chronic sinusitis.
Chronic sinusitis.
Now that's a big immune overall.
That's a big immune question. Yes.
For chronic sinusitis, at the top of my list would be vitamin D3.
Mm-hmm.
If you weigh 140 pounds or more, 50,000 units once a week. And in fact, if I would start with maybe 3 days in a row of 50,000 units and then once a week. If you weigh under 40 pounds, every 10 days. Second, at least 4 in that case of the Shealy-Sorin essentials to get adequate B complex, and 30 milligrams of astaxanthin,
Mm-hmm.
and 4 minimum up to 8 of the Shealy-Sorin youth formula. Those would be the vitamins I would recommend for chronic sinusitis.
And this is where I would say if the chronic sinus has become acute, in other words, acute infection and chronic, that is where I find the best use of the ozone.
Yeah.
Medical ozone. Ozone can be given through the nose, through the ears. It's just ozone is wonderful. It's an O3 molecule. And yes,
I would even treat chronic sinusitis this way.
Now that is a concept.
Of course.
Oh yeah, baby. Oh yeah. Anybody else there?
Yes, somebody was asking where and how to get your anandamides checked.
Well, they're going to have to find a research lab where they can do it at the moment, but force their doctor to keep insisting on getting one, because we got to get this in the medical profession.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is something that needs to be in the medical profession. Every lab in the country should be doing it.
It should be, yes. Mm.
So, that all?
Somebody was asking about CRPS. I'm not sure.
CRPS.
Yeah. They said they have it in their
Chronic regional,
Pain syndrome.
pain syndrome.
Mhm.
Yeah, this
That's
is
a
an
terrible one.
overactivity of sympathetic nervous system. By the way, I have such a patient, and he's one of the ones who was not getting response to the dorsal column stimulator, and now he's virtually controlled his pain with this device.
But here is also where retraining of the nervous system comes in with
Exactly.
autogenic training and biogenics, because, we can literally retrain the entire
Yes.
nervous system. And that's wonderful. It just takes a little work and
So,
desire. Yeah.
folks,
We are coming back in.
diet is important, nutrition is important, exercise is important, but the most important, thinking.
KICK and 99.5
Every thought is a prayer.
ADI.
Mm-hmm.
Now, back to Wellness Wednesday with Dr. Norm Shealy and Dr. Sergey Sorin.
And we are now back, and it's your turn. 417-447-1777. If you've got any questions, any comments, now is the time. 417-447-1777. So I can see the phone if it rings. And meanwhile, we'll continue talking until we get that first phone call.
Mm-hmm. Now, it's interesting. Now, let's talk about biogenics and autogenic training.
Well, of course, because they go with it.
They go with it. So this is a physical device that actually does the work. But do we have a caller?
Yep.
Uh-huh.
Hey, good afternoon. You're on the air.
Good afternoon. I just have a question regarding the PEMF device. Would it work for Alzheimer's dementia?
I've seen it. I don't know. one in which it doesn't work so far. Now, they've got to have some nutrition with it. But so far, everybody I've tested it on with Alzheimer's and other such things it's gotten improved.
Perfect. That's wonderful. And I had another quick question for you regarding the vaccine. I have a friend who took the vaccine and now realizes that she should never have done it. And she was wondering if there is a way to get it out of her body or some holistic approach to.
Well, here's a situation where I would suggest at least 3 IVs of high-dose vitamin C.
Let me jump in on this question because this is fascinating, and I'll be after then. If we need to take another caller, I'll come back to this topic. I've been working emergency room, and I've been seeing a lot of vaccine-related injuries, primarily hyperimmune response, immune storm, so to speak. People almost like anaphylactic shock, but also central nervous system problems, all sorts of things. Remember, folks, these are experimental gene agents. I mean, that's not a classic vaccine, and we were not fans of vaccines to begin with, to start. But these are truly experimental agents. So, I mean, I'm not telling whoever has gotten it or whoever is happy, otherwise. I mean, I'm not going to change your mind. But if you haven't gotten it, think twice, please.
Yes.
Right.
And the evidence is overwhelming. If you take adequate vitamin D3 and vitamin C, etc., you almost don't need the vaccine.
And if you do have the vaccine, I'm going to strongly encourage you to do everything for your immune system because that's where you're getting hit the hardest.
Exactly.
So optimize your immune system moving forward.
Okay, with high doses of vitamin C shot, the ozone.
Ozone,
Yes,
vitamin
ozone
C,
as
that's
well,
right.
yes.
Our favorite modalities at our clinic, you're right, absolutely.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'll let her know that because she was oblivious to all the dangers until I sent her information, and it was too late because she'd already got the shot.
And if she didn't get the second shot, then that's another consideration.
Definitely not.
Yeah, no, she said she wouldn't do the second one.
God bless her soul, absolutely.
Well, thank you so much for all your help and all that you do.
And thank you for calling.
Okay, thank you. Bye now.
And now is your turn. 417-447-1777. Good afternoon. You're on the air.
Yes, Dr. Shealy, I have the PEMF, and I was just wondering, is it okay to use it like every night while I'm sleeping?
Absolutely. I sleep with it actually on my abdomen. Some people sleep with it under their pillow. I can't sleep with it under my pillow because I hear it. I hear it. If I had it on my head and I'm talking on the phone, I hear a click. If I have it on my pillow, I hear a click. I'm the only person I know who's reported that. But if it doesn't hear a click, it's perfectly safe under your pillow.
I'll respond to that. I hear a click basically when I use it under the pillow, but I like it. It's like white noise. It puts me to sleep. I love it.
Okay, the click.
So it's the opposite.
Put me to sleep.
Yeah.
But the frequency can put you to sleep. If you're going to use it to help you sleep, you actually want to put it on the delta frequency. You can push the button to the third level and get delta frequency.
Delta is the deep sleep mode. I just supports that wonderfully. Yeah.
Yes.
I thought there was just one mode, at least the one that I have anyway.
Do you have the older model?
Do you have the battery model or the plug-in-the-wall model?
It plugs in the wall.
That only has one frequency. That's all I ever use either on the battery one because it still puts the brain into gamma.
We don't make those anymore. We make now the one with the 3 modes, special modes. But if you still have the older model, you use it.
It works.
Enjoy.
It works quite as well.
Okay, I didn't realize there was a newer model.
Mm-hmm.
Where did that come?
Well, it's now battery powered, but it costs a lot more. It costs almost twice as much to put that rechargeable battery in as it does to plug it into the wall.
But now you can walk around with it. You can drive with it. You can do,
Okay. Is there a way to upgrade to it, or is it
upgrade? Now that's an interesting one. Let me speak with our IT, our folks who handle that. I don't think we're ready to answer the question right now. But if you send us information and an email, let's talk about it.
Yeah, send us an email and we'll answer for you.
Okay, because for the older model, I'm just using it, sleeping with it on my abdomen, and it helps.
Oh, it's wonderful.
Me relax.
Great.
It does, yeah.
It helps with mind chatter and that type of stuff.
Wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, I will contact you then.
Great question. Thanks for calling.
You're welcome.
Mm-hmm.
Bye.
And now it's your turn, 417-447-1777.
Mm-hmm.
And let's talk about life in general. To me, every human being should start probably at kindergarten age practicing basic autogenic training.
Self-regulation.
Self-regulation, self-control. That's what I went back in 1974 to get my PhD in self-regulation. Good afternoon. You're on the phone. You're on.
Hi.
Hi.
This is Helene from Reno. I have a couple of questions.
Helene, hello.
Well, one of them is a follow-up. I've had a history of, for some strange reason, my white blood count was low, and I take a lot of your suggestions.
Mm-hmm.
And you had suggested on a call that I called you to take beta-glucan. So I had a blood test, and it's normal. So I wanted to share that with you.
Beta-1,3-glucan. Wonderful.
Good.
Wonderful. Yes.
And I do have a question. What were you going to say, Sergey?
No, that's it. You nailed it. You got it. Yeah.
I do have a question, Norm. When you had the shingles, you made a comment on the show that the vitamin C intravenous didn't help, but the PEMF did. Why is that?
Well, who knows? We're all individual, unique people, and I have no idea why it didn't help in that extreme case. But I had one of the worst cases in history.
Actually, I'll jump in. I mean, objectively, I know subjectively it didn't feel great, but I did see an improvement with IVs. That's why I came over to your house with IVs, on a regular basis.
Well, yeah.
Now, I know you didn't feel great, but I mean, I think it helped. I really do think so.
Okay.
But
what I was after was not the rash or anything like that, but my energy was gone. My brain function was down. I woke up and said, I'm about 95% dead. That was what I was treating with the Gamma-PIMF.
Ah.
Now, you know I love you guys, but I do have a question. With everything that Norm takes, how the heck can he get shingles?
In other words, with all your supplements, with everything you do, how do you ever get shingles? Now that's a question of a lifetime.
That is indeed it. And the interesting thing is, I think because I was irradiated with radiation therapy when I had the shingles at age 18, I'm lucky to be alive, in my opinion. The idiot dermatologist who treated me when I was 18 treated my entire lumbar spine for 2 full weeks with X-ray therapy.
Mm-hmm. And now that's radiation, unnecessary radiation,
and insanity, in my opinion. If he was still alive, I'd shoot him.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thanks, Helene. Have a good one.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
And now is your turn, 417-447-1777. Time to ask questions, make comments, because everything you think is related to your health.
But I'd like to add something to this, or on that thread. Norm, do we have a call?
Yep.
Okay, yeah.
Good afternoon. You're on the air.
Yeah, I'd like to know about, you never mentioned hyperbaric oxygen therapy, and that's supposed to be really good for dementia and Parkinson's. Do you ever have a suggestion for where to do that?
We personally think that ozone is better than hyperbaric oxygen.
Similar concept in terms of optimizing the body's body functions and dealing with certain states. In other words, now if you have access to that but not ozone where you are, that's fine. It's a good modality. But we've had, we can only speak about the things that we personally experienced, and what we experienced the most is the ozone and vitamin C IV. Now, have I heard stories about about hyperbaric helping multiple things? Of course. But there's so many ways to go around the world. There's so many ways to enhance health.
Is oxygen therapy through the IV?
It's actually O3, ozone.
Ozone.
Medical ozone is an O3 molecule, and it's just basically, it just goes after everything that's abnormal. That's the short of it. Bacteria, fungal, viruses, but it's also anything in the body, autoimmune, whatever needs to be normalized, in short. But there's a lot more talk about this if we have time.
Okay, well, I was just wondering if you have to do it through the intravenous, or do you take it through the mouth?
In different ways, you can do nose, ears. You can do intravenous. That's the strongest.
Rectal.
You can do rectal. Yeah, not everybody loves that, but it does work. It's great. Yeah.
So I just call your office and find out what to do.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Happy to do a consultation and guide you. Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
Thanks
Mhm.
for calling. And good afternoon. You're on the air.
Hi, this is Julie. So, quick story. When I was 17, I had a severe heavy bleeding from my period, which I got hospitalized for 1 month.
Mhm.
A couple years later, I was okay. Then last year in October 2020, I experienced the same thing of like a heavy bleeding from my period, and there were like a quarter-sized blood clot. That was like in October of 2020. So right now, I'm feeling okay though. Do you recommend transabdominal and transvaginal ultrasound?
Definitely want to check it out. How old are you, if you don't mind? If you don't mind.
25.
25. Definitely have a check out. Now, this is where conventional medicine does shine: diagnosis and assessment. Now, the treatment doesn't necessarily have to shine, but the diagnosis shines. The ultrasound is a wonderful modality to see if there's fibroids, to see if there's any endometriosis, to see if there's any other kind of condition that can be easily corrected. And in general, the concept is most people are estrogen predominance, whereas progesterone is the key or the solution here for most people. And we even use it in men to enhance DHEA as well as in women. So I would say if you're having that problem, other than, of course, a proper consultation, you can talk to us or you can talk to your doctor. But eugesterone cream is one way to go about it.
Okay, is there like any like vitamins or probiotic that you recommend to kind of help with the bleeding?
Well, yes, vitamin K2.
Mm-hmm.
I would actually take 45 milligrams daily of vitamin K2.
Okay.
Okay.
And that would go with vitamin D3.
Yeah, of course, with all the others.
That's what I call the basics. I mean, that's
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks. Thanks for calling.
Yeah.
And good afternoon. You're on the air.
Yeah, I was wanting to know what your thoughts, given the severity of COVID, what were your thoughts on the vaccine? And I've heard you talk about the flu vaccine in years past, but to me, the COVID is such a worse disease than flu. What are your thoughts on that?
There is no circumstance in which you could get one in my body without killing me with a gun first.
Mm-hmm.
I think the current vaccine is a farce, and I would not go near it or allow it into this body.
It's basically an experimental agent. I'm going to say this once. I'll say it as many times as I have to, but I'll got to be careful about saying it because people get taken off the air for this kind of stuff. It's an experimental agent. It's a gene therapy. Literally, it's unlike anything that has ever existed in the history of humanity. And if I'm not going to go any further just because I want to stay on the air, we want to stay on the air. I hope you can read between the lines here, but there is a wonderful resource called American Frontline Doctors, and I'm part of that organization. And they give you research, white papers, information, all sorts of actual science that's actually good, as opposed to all the nonsense that you see everywhere. And I'm just going to say that. Go there, check it out, see how it feels to you. And to me, that's the truth.
American Frontline Doctors.
Yep,
Yes.
AFLDS either .org or .com. I think .org perhaps.
Okay, thank you. So you guys do not subscribe to the vaccines?
No.
Thanks for calling.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
And now is your turn, 417-447-1777. We're open line Wednesday for questions and comments about anything, because it's all related to your health. And good afternoon. You're on the air.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. I have a question about DNA.
DNA.
Good. Okay.
And it has to do with breast cancer. And when the test came back, they said that they found that it was a mosaic and it was estrogen sensitive.
Estrogen sensitive mosaic breast cancer.
Ah.
Mm-hmm.
what does mosaic mean? I understand that it's like part of the DNA crossbars, whatever you call those, the AC and the other two, are different, but give me a visualization of what mosaic means.
We'll have to get back to you on that. If you actually email me at DRS, this is a very deep, complicated question, and we don't have enough time to address it, but I would love to direct you further. It's DRS, that's my email, stands for Dr. S, at realholisticdoc.com. And I would look forward to hearing from you, and then we can go further. How's that?
Yeah, because I've looked everywhere for it, and it's just gibberish. It's like it doesn't exist.
There's a lot of misinformation. You got it. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks for calling. And good afternoon. Hello?
Hi, this is Erica calling again, and I had a question about a device that I'm using for migraine called the Shealy.
Okay, can you spell that, please?
CEF.
CES.
Oh, cranial electrical stimulator?
CEFELY.
Cespoli?
It goes on your forehead right at the third eye area, and it's got some magnets, and it does some stimulation up the top of the head.
Yeah, there are a number of devices for cranial electrical stimulation, yes.
What do you think about that device? I mean, I
would call it fair, but we don't, it does not raise anandamide, and that's what we're after today. It may raise serotonin, but not anandamide.
And I think we're also talking about the gamma, gamma state of the brain, which is the optimal brain.
Okay.
And I don't think based on, we tested a lot of things, a lot of devices. There's none that actually do that.
Exactly.
Other than, of course, what we got here. I mean, I'm not bragging. I'm just saying, there's research is kind of concerning about that. Yeah.
Is it harmful in any way that you know of, though?
Is it harmful in any way? It's hard to say,
I don't know that particular device, but if you've already used it and it didn't harm you, then you're probably okay.
Okay.
It's if you can actually share some of that information. Again, I gave my email a little earlier, Dr. S, DRS at realholisticdoc.com. We can perhaps have further conversation, that's that. I think. Do we have another caller?
Okay.
Okay. I'm sorry. Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks for calling.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. You're on the air.
Yeah.
We can perhaps have further conversation.
I am.
Hello.
Hi, this is Robin.
Robin.
Hello.
I think.
Hi.
Can you turn the radio off, or somebody talking in your presence?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I had you on.
Okay.
I had a severe bout of diverticulitis in January, and then a recurring bout in March, and I'm scheduled for a colonoscopy at the end of April.
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing everything I can to clear up the diverticulitis, but there seems to be an old school approach and a new school approach, so I'm confused. And even on what to eat, there seems to be mixed messages.
Let me give you an emergency room perspective, and then let me share a few other things. The itis, diverticulitis, if you break it down into the roots, Latin and otherwise, itis stands for inflammation. Diverticuli is the little outpouching in the colon, and little particular foods like nuts and seeds and things of that nature, if you have that predisposition, can get stuck and can cause issues and problems. Now, again, that's classic emergency room and conventional advice. Now, if it becomes severe enough, it may need to become surgical. Hopefully not. Again, in a conventional sense. Now, in a holistic sense, outside of the conventional, let's actually ask. I'd like to ask Dr. Shealy your perspective first.
Well, Coach, you avoid high fiber diets. That's at the top of the list. You want to eat low fiber when you've got diverticulitis. But at the top of the list is improving your immune system with vitamin D3, our essentials I will use formally, astaxanthin, beta-glucan. And here's a place where I would definitely consider using the gamma pimp over the lower abdomen.
That would be certainly one consideration. Absolutely. The other thing that I'd like to add here as an option is autoimmune X, which stabilizes gastrointestinal system, immune system. Now, it takes 3 to 12 months. So it's
I'm taking it. I started both the Autogenics and the Autoimmune X about a week ago.
Wonderful,
Good.
wonderful.
Now, it takes time, but it's worth considering. It's safe.
Yes, that's great. That's fantastic.
And I'm sorry, I didn't understand what you said between vitamin D3 and the beta glucone.
Astaxanthin, Astaxanthin. It's the best form of vitamin A.
Immune support.
Okay. Spell it one more time.
Astaxanthin.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thanks for calling. And folks, it looks as if they've kicking us off the air for today. We will be back with you next.
2 minutes.
We've got 2 minutes. Oh, I had thought
we can do another phone call, perhaps. Yeah.
Yeah, leave the phone on for another. We can take a call right away.
Oh, yeah.
At least one more if you do it quick. 417-447-1777. But you got to hurry. Otherwise, we will be kicked off the air any minute because the time is up. But folks, remember, you are the one who makes decisions. We bring you the advice. We bring you information. We're happy to answer your question. If you want to get in touch with us at the clinic, 417-351-5221.
And there's a lot of resources on realholisticdoc.com.
And there's that call. We'll try 1 minute. Quickie.
Yes.
You're on the air.
Hi, I'm calling back again. I was wondering what you have to say about low blood pressure for like women. I'm a woman that is like 92 pounds and
well, that to me,
told to drink salt water.
I would need to consult on that because I need to know exactly what's going on and what other things are going on. You don't want to treat something unless you know it's causing a problem.
And I'm going to just say this, low blood pressure, low sugar, low as opposed to high. We generally are concerned about high, hypertension, diabetes, but low is actually more concerning than high.
A healthy woman can have a blood pressure that's 90/60, but that's considered low for most people, but it can be healthy in some women.
But depending on
symptoms.
symptoms.
Even below that, it would get to be worse. But you need to consult with us for that one.
Okay, and if there's time for SIBO, do you have recommendations for that?
Time for SIBO?
Yes, as far as alternative treatment for SIBO.
Alternative treatment for SIBO. Okay, I think we're going to take that question off the air, but just say it one more time, please.
Okay.
SIBO.
Heard of it.
Okay, just...
overgrowth.
Go ahead.
The small intestine bacterial overgrowth.
Yes. Autoimmune X. Short and simple. Okay. Wonderful stuff. Yes.
Okay.
The views expressed on this show are those of
That's something that you recommend taking for that condition?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. First and foremost. Yes.
And because I'm not sure if I have a valve problem where the large intestine material is backing up into the small intestine, or.
But see, this is where it gets into the gastrointestinal health as opposed to disease and proper balance, bacterial, probiotics, prebiotics. Now that gets a little complicated for. If you're interested in a consultation, we would be happy to take care of you, but we can also connect at the next time on the radio as well.
Okay. Well, I'll send you an email anyway for my other questions.
Yes, ma'am.
Thanks
you got
for
it.
calling.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, wonderful questions, and I feel terrible that we weren't able to address everybody's questions today, but I think we got to something real important. So just a quick summary about today's topic, and now we are kind of off the air on the radio, but we're still live for a few minutes. So just a quick summary on the topic of conversation today and the concept, the understanding of the optimal brain function, optimal frequency of the brain in terms of gamma, but also optimizing the neurochemicals, including anandamide. And that is what it's all about, normalizing and optimizing. And I would say that's the end of the show. Until next time.
Until next, y'all have a good one.
Yep.